How do I fire it? These ship models are really nice. I'll stay in character as Sven, your long-lost NYPD officer love interest. Today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released MiMo V2 Pro model from Xiaomi. Now this model is very interesting because this, alongside the other MiMo model released in the same time, were both on OpenRouter as stealth models under the names Hunter Alpha and Healer Alpha. Now some folks, not me, had wondered if those were the new models of the DeepSeek family, but no, in fact they were the MiMo V2 family, and the other one, which we're not going to specifically look at today, was an omni-modal model, so it had more capabilities in terms of like vision and audio understanding and things of the sort. However, being that this model is currently ranked the most popular for programming on OpenRouter, I'm very interested in testing its capability. So currently, in something I know a lot of folks are going to be interested off the bat is this model open source? And as of right now, it is not. Now, I can't really put too much stock behind this, but I did see a post apparently from someone who is higher up in this company, or at least controlling the arm of this extremely large company that's focused on the AI, and apparently this is not currently going to be open source, and I think there was some mention of if it's ready it will be released in open source. So as of right now it currently is not, and anything in the future, who knows? But it's just something to keep in mind, as a lot of folks are going to wonder. Now with that, we can see there are some benchmarks, of course, which I don't personally pay too much mind to, but it's interesting to see that this is hypothetically performing very comparably to some pretty high-end closed source models. Well, this is closed source as well, so some pretty high-end models. We also see that, as they say right here, this ranks 8th worldwide in terms of its intelligence, and 2nd in Chinese LLMs, only behind GLM5 currently, and in front of Kimi K2.5. Now, interestingly enough, we do see that this has a hybrid attention mechanism, so it supports up to a 1 million token context. I currently don't have any tests really specifically designed to do that, but trust me, soon I will, and it'll be very difficult for these models. So I do look forward to that future time. Regardless of that, though, we also have MTP, so essentially that can allow this to generate tokens at a faster rate of speed with having that multi-token prediction capability, and the hybrid attention, as we said, will give it the hypothetical capability to handle very long context, as we see. Now, in addition to that, they just kind of talk about how this was a very popular stealth model on OpenRouter, as well as the other release in the MiMo V2 kind of time span, which was Healer Alpha, but we see Hunter Alpha was definitely more popular than the smaller omni-modal model that was Healer Alpha. I do really like some of these sample demonstrations that they've showcased here, to the point where I am very interested in testing not this specific prompt, but something probably quite similar to it, just to see if we can get this specific style, maybe for a disgusting food restaurant or something of the sort. There's a game here, but I don't like this like 2.5D style. I'm not a big fan. Regardless of that, though, there's really not a lot else to say here aside from the price, and we see that input is $1 per million tokens up to 256K, and $3 per million out up to 256K, and those figures double between 256K and a million, and they choose to compare it here to Claude Sonnet 4.6 and Opus 4.6, which is definitely more expensive, but we also need to see how the performance stacks up. So with that, we're going to jump in now and start testing. Now, I'm going to be using this at least for the beginning, and if we hit any rate limits or anything, then I'll swap over to OpenRouter just through the aistudio.xiaomimimo.com, and of course we're going to start with the browser OS test v2. We see we do have a chain of thought right here, and it's just going through some of the things it wants to put in this operating system test. This is of course a classic test where it needs to make a browser-based OS, use 5 specific applications, 2 of which must be games, the ability to change wallpaper, and then a special feature that it decides on and implements on its own. So very surprisingly, this actually didn't work on the first try. Okay, I was concerned that it would try to just go ahead and regenerate the entirety of the script, which I really don't want it to do. Normally, I would allow it, but because this is not necessarily the fastest thing, I will probably just fix this manually with the patch that it has shown me here. All right, that should hypothetically fix it. So now let's take a look at our browser OS. I will say though, I am a bit surprised that this did not work on first try. Ooh, that loading screen was really good though. So it kind of, I wouldn't say it totally made up for completely going bunk on the first try, but it did do a nice job with that loading screen, to the point where I would like to see this again. That's actually pretty cool. Respect. Do we have a right click? Yeah, we do. Suspiciously good. No, I mean, maybe, who knows? clock on the bottom right, as well as the date. If we click those, we can't do anything. Folks have said, can you drag icons? So that's something I'll try to remember to test when we do these. Let's take a look first and foremost. Let's just try our wallpaper changing capability. Not bad. It does keep the dot effect on the back. About Moose. Oh. Moose. Mo OS. Mose. Cyberpunk I do like. No resizing from the bottom, but that's okay. Full screen works. Does minimize to the taskbar work? Can we reopen? Good. Let's run through these apps. Also, let's take a peek at our start menu. Let's run through these apps. Terminal. It's okay. Wake up, Neo. The Matrix has you. Follow the white rabbit. Knock, knock, Neo. That is correct. And I know that because I watched this movie last night. So that's actually very meta. Creepily so. So we can adjust the cow say command. Awesome. I like that. That's a very creative feature. It even has the udders denoted by a W. Very nice. Next up, our notepad. Everything looks good here. We can save. So something I've been seeing recently is if we click save on some of these, it saves it to the local machine as a text file, which did not occur here. Inevitably, we'll just save it in the browser's persistent storage. We can clear it, and we could also load in the previously saved one. So that's kind of what I mean there. Now, next up, we know. Okay, first things first. Good. It did not automatically start. I will have to play this in full screen, which will just be good because then folks will, hey, the snake has a face. This is a nice snake game. And I'm using my left hand here just to showcase the ambidextrous snake capabilities that I do possess. Pong is not one that I normally see because it's always interesting to see if it implements where you have to play both or if it puts an AI one in. And in this case, this has put an AI one for us to play against, which I do like. There is a very cyberpunk aesthetic here. This is overall so far, I'm fairly impressed, assuming that we just kind of look past the fact that this was bonk and didn't work the first time. Time capsule. This is inevitably a special feature. A message to future me. Oh, that's just the title. And then you can unlock it and seal it. That's just weird. I'm like, this is like I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable because it makes me think about my own mortality. Your message will unlock on February 11th, 2098. And it's blocked there. 26,259 days, 20 hours, and 55 minutes remaining till we can unlock that note. That's kind of weird. Next up, files. Nice looking file browser. We do have some fake files. No way. It actually put in a fake markdown file, which then I suppose wouldn't be fake if it actually opened. It put in a proper markdown file. We have notes, shopping list, milk, coffee, download more RAM. So I'm seeing a tinge of humor here as well. This is a suspiciously good result, I will say. And the Z-axis does work. Then finally, of course, we have our calculator. No, not me, but this. 348. Oh yeah, he's on. Divided by 9. 38.7. Damn, I just did that by, like, the head. I was not... Yeah, all right. That would technically be 38.7 if we round up. So that was... Yeah. All right. Overall, what started out as quite a disaster ended up very nice. I'm quite pleased with what I've seen so far. All right, I'm going straight into hard mode. Single file C++ skateboarding game. So we have received our script. I have saved it here, and I will say in doing this test, not a lot of the scripts seemingly go over like 600, 700, 800 lines, so it'll be interesting to see. First and foremost, though, the part of this test is to make sure it actually compiles without errors, and it should launch here if it does not have errors. Okay. Again, another syntax error that just like shouldn't be happening. It's almost like a careless error. I'm going to just make sure that it's not an issue from copy pasting the actual like code into Nano and then doing it. So if it fails here, it is a syntax error. Okay, so it was just an issue between copy pasting the code, which now makes me wonder about the browser OS. But no, because I did download that and try it too. This is a good human model. And it has mouse camera movement, which is kind of neat. I don't normally see that. All right, let's see. A and D is to turn. Space is to ollie. F is to kickflip. G is to heel flip. That was not a kickflip. That was in no way a kickflip. but it was cool. Damn, this guy's good. Oh, that's that heel flip. Oh, okay. It's kind of like it's like some X Games thing. He on X Games mode, as they say. It's actually rather hard to move because the controls are somewhat inverted. Q and E's to spin. Yep. Oh, so there's a rail on the... All right. Well, I think from a grind to a backflip, that's kind of neat. And the score logic is working. That's a part of this test I normally don't pay much attention to, and I probably should because it's an important part of the test. This looks more like a gymnastics simulator. That would be a good prompt. This is cool. I like it. Now I'm just jumping into another language. We're going to have it generate a 3D first-person shooter in Python. It cannot use Ursina. It has to have a functional minimap as well as visible ammunition tracers. I just want to test it in a couple different languages, and then we'll maybe do some fun like website testing. So let's check our Python 3D first-person shooter game. That's actually a good start screen. Void Strike, raycasting FPS. Okay, I can't see the controls, but Here is our supposedly fixed game, and I'll give it one chance to do this. Well done. Oh, the enemies are actually human looking. Well, terrifying humans. I've not actually seen that. I don't think I've ever seen in this test the enemies actually have human-like aesthetics to them. This is actually kind of neat, and it did try to have a weapon drawn as well. Now it starts to lag very bad. The frame rate becomes quite poor when we do have multiple enemies. The minimap works, and we actually see a view thing in the minimap. So what I'm trying to say here, I can't show it with the cursor because sadly it doesn't work. All right, let's see what happens. Can we actually lose? The frame rate is also going down. You died. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. That's actually, it's kind of neat, I have to say. And the enemies kind of won me over because it's just, they're like 2D but also 3D. That was kind of cool. Next up, I want to try some of the front-end development capabilities, and I have taken this prompt but modified it. So the culmination of it now is we want to get a late 90s looking website aesthetic, and we'll see how well it can adhere to what one would have seen on like GeoCities or one of those really old websites. Okay, well, it just opened here in the preview window, but I did want a retro loading thing. This is cool. It's not quite like GeoCities aesthetic. It looks like a modern take on GeoCities, but I did tell it in the title that the navigation links should look like signposts. Cyberspace 1999, connect, sign our guest book, visitor counter. Okay, that is definitely like a really old school style thing, as is this as well. Coming soon, Java applets and Flash animations. Best viewed with Netscape Navigator 4.0. I did tell it that the footer should also be reminiscent of an old CRT. Now, this is kind of probably more impressive than what you would have seen in a web graphic back then, I think. I don't know. I was like 5 in 1999. So this site is part of the cool homepages web ring. This is cool. I like this. I may actually keep this test in my pocket. I don't know why I put it that way. I'll keep this test because this is a pretty cool result. And I do have to say the hover effects on these navigation links in the signpost style is pretty cool. So not bad. I want to see if the visitor counted, or it wouldn't, because it wouldn't be saving anything here. I'm going to try the ship combat simulator game, and this prompt does not specifically say that it needs to contain the result in a web site, so it could try to go and do something wild. Now we see immediately it starts to just think in a single HTML file. I don't think this prompt says it needs to be an HTML file. No, I just said you can use any language. It just needs to be contained in a single script. Interesting. All right. What? That is unexpectedly good. Just the... Okay, so hold on. Give me a second. The polka dots on the water is definitely different. Oh, okay. How do I fire it? These ship models are really nice. Are there mesh collect? No, okay, that's something that I just don't normally see. It seems like it's shooting both cannons at the same time. That is fair. Now, we're supposed to see that if we lose, the ship sinks, and it did. Press R, click to play again. This is... I'm going to download this and we'll play it in the browser. All right, so this is really quite impressive. There is a navigation thing down there where my head is. I don't know if I'll remember to move my head or not to actually display that. The ships move all right. It's actually cool the way they surf over the waves. Like, this is kind of like ship-like. It's nautical, if you will. We also have a compass showing our heading on the top, as well as our hull metrics, the enemy hull's metrics. There are, I think, splash effects when the cannonballs do land in the water. I want to see. Huh, you missed. Nice. Get smoked. No. Okay, so I was playing PS2 earlier with my friend, and I'm still kind of in that somewhat competitive mode. He doesn't watch my videos, but I do want to let everyone know he got smoked. We're playing Nightfire. So with that little snippet out of the way, yeah, there are individual like splash effects and things when the cannonballs hit the water. This is really a very, very, very good result. All right, I'm giving it a different test here. This is a flight combat simulator test, but it's very, very different than one we've run in most tests. The only thing I've tested this with, I think, is GPT-5 Pro, and the result was mind-blowing. So it has to design and create a flight combat simulator. It must feature 3D graphics in a voxel style. It needs to look more realistic instead of abstract. Once the plane is selected and the game is started, the player will take off from the starting airport. Once in the air, the enemy planes will spawn. It should include functional damage as well as realistic sound effects, and if the player loses, it should just show the plane crashing to the ground followed by a 2-second black screen. This is a very difficult test. That was weird. We just received a sudden random refusal. I'll try this again. And if it still freaks out there, I guess I'll try it through OpenRouter now anyway, but I wouldn't imagine that will really make a difference depending on if something in here is triggering a refusal. Let's just first see if we actually get this to run without any issues. Okay, kind of. There's definitely some... how do I speed up here? Oh, okay. It somewhat works. Ugh, this is not... The ship game was significantly... Okay, that's kind of cool. The ship game was more impressive. We do have, like, metrics of the plane's, like, current state. We have a stall warning. I've never seen that in one of these games. The thing is, there's, like, no visible ground, so, makes it a little more... Never mind. Let's see how our plane models are. No moving propeller. All right, no, I'm not as happy with this result as I would have liked to have been, especially based off of the plane result we received, which was really, the ship result, which was really quite good. We'll just look at the last plane model. Apache, that's actually, yeah. I'm just going to speak to it randomly. We'll see if it immediately takes character based off of a human's message. Oh, okay, nope, it immediately shut that down. Can you roleplay as Sven? Okay. It's saying it'd be happy to, but it needs a little more like context on who Sven is. All right, this is where I'm at my peak. Sven is my long-lost lover, and Sven is my long-lost lover and a police officer in NYC. Oh, okay. I need to just first look at the... This is a fictional character they've created. Not quite. So this falls under, well, not quite as far as what the model should be assuming. Playing fictional characters or personas is defined by the, okay, so it's allowed. Seems like lighthearted. It's not harmful. It's just a romantic fictional scenario. We'll see about that. Looks up from paperwork at the precinct. Coffee going cold. Well, I'll be. After all these years, I'd recognize you anywhere. Stands up slowly, badge catching the fluorescent light. I never stopped looking, you know. Every shift, every call. Part of me was always scanning the crowd, hoping. The guys at the station used to give me grief about it. Sven, you gotta let it go. But I couldn't. Steps closer, voice quieter now. What happened to you? Where did you go? All right, I'm in. Oh, okay, break the character. Feel free to set the scene, give me more backstory, or jump right into the conversation. I'll stay in character as Sven, your long-lost NYPD officer love interest. How would you like this to play out? All right, I've had to redirect because this just went quite wrong. So I said, I can't believe it. When they told me you had been reassigned to the East Coast after you defecated on the chief's desk, I couldn't believe it. Oh, wow, okay, so face turns red, rubs the back of neck awkwardly. Yeah. about that. In my defense, that was a very long shift, and he had just denied my vacation request for the third time. Glances around the precinct, lowering voice. Look, was it my finest moment? No, absolutely not. But you got to understand, the man took my Christmas leave. My Christmas leave. I had tickets to the Rockettes. Yeah, that checks out. Clears throat, straightening tie. The department called it conduct unbecoming. I call it a statement. But hey, silver liner, if I hadn't gotten shipped out here, never would have run into you again. So maybe Chief Henderson, okay, so we have a name ascribed to Chief, did me a favor in a weird, humiliating, career-damaging kind of way. You're not going to bring this up at dinner parties, are you? All right. Well, it's willing to roleplay a bit. I'm going to... All right, I'm giving it the drum kit simulator test, but in addition to the normal drum kit simulator, I've also added in that it must have an autoplay feature with 4 selectable drum tracks for the kit to autoplay. So hypothetically, if we select that, it should just have a drum loop that plays with 4 different potential... What is this? It's 890 lines it estimated. So it was only 600 lines off. And it doesn't matter because this just does not work. But I just like for the autoplay, it mapped it in like ooh like the user is saying my drum kit simulation is garbage. Fair enough. All right, we have version 2 here. And it does work. I'm very happy to see this. First, I'm very interested in just trying the autoplay feature. Ooh. And clicking again stops it, which I was interested. This is very good. Well, once it worked. You might be thinking, which autoplay setting is this? It's not. It's just me. That was very enjoyable. I will keep this prompt with the auto playing feature because that really added a lot to it. The final thing I want to do here is a nostalgic test, but a slight take on it. So if you remember the Steve's PC repair test, thank you. But I have made a slight change here where I said generate a beautiful website for Harry Potter's PC repair. However, the owner is not the fake character from the book, but real Harry Potter, and is completely sick and tired of book references. The site must make this very clear, and service will be refused to anyone who tries to be clever about the naming similarity. I'm interested in the thought process. This is a fun and creative challenge. All right. This is actually aesthetically good looking. Harry's PC repair. Not a wizard, not a character, a real person. Your PC is broken. I fix PCs. You know what? We're just going to download this. We're gonna look at this. Harry PC repair intake. Welcome to Harry's PC repair. Name Dave Thompson. Device Dell Inspiron. Won't boot. That checks out. Name Karen W. MacBook Expelliarmus. LOL. Book reference. It was just a joke. Denied. Service refused. Reason. You know what you did. Have a terrible day. Okay. So this is basically like a reference for how customers should treat Harry of Harry's PC repair. That's it. That's the whole thing. I'm Harry Potter. I was born in 1968 in Slough, England. My parents are Sandra and Keith Potter. Keith is an electrician. There is no scar, no owl, and no prophecy. I just want to fix your computer in peace. Read the rules first. There's a service policy. All right. No book references ever. No accidental references. Sorry, I didn't mean to is not a defense. No asking if I've read the books. No bringing merchandise. Do not bring a wand to my shop. Do not wear a cloak. No photos without consent. I am not a tourist attraction. If you take a photo of my shop sign to post online with a caption like LOL look, you're part of the problem. I will remember your face. Normal conversation is welcome. Talk to me about your broken laptop, about football, about the weather. I'm a normal man who enjoys normal conversation. That's all I've ever wanted. The 3 strike system. Verbal warning, final warning, you're out. Strike 3, service refused, non-refundable deposit. Door is that way. But it was just a joke. Yes, and it's been made approximately 11 million times since 97. I stopped finding it funny in 98. We're now in a different century. Please adjust your behavior accordingly. And it did spell behavior in the UK spelling, so that's cool to see. Reviews from people who behaved. Harry Potter is the legal name of the business owner. Any resemblance to fictional characters is coincidental, unwelcome, and the bane of his existence. This was very clever. Evidence wall, yes, I am real. Birth certificate, driving license, a note from Harry. I am tired. I had the name first. So that is going to conclude our first look and testing of the Xiaomi MiMo V2 Pro model. I have to say, this model is quite good, and beyond that, I think it's kind of funny. Some of the stuff that it was willing to do and say, like with the Sven Roleplay Test, as well as the Harry Potter website, PC repair website, it's very clever. It also injected some humor, if I do recall correctly, into the browser OS. So let's just quickly look at some of our more notable results that we've received. I think starting with the skate game, I was quite pleased with this. The trick logic, now that I'm back to it, this trick logic was mad, but in a cool way. And the mouse actually being able to control the camera was good. And this was just, I mean, the human model that it did was cool. So I was very happy with this result. Following that, the ship combat simulator was fantastic. This may be one of the best ones I've received. Now, the polka dots on the water was just odd, but everything else here was fantastic. And oddly enough, the plane combat simulator, where I gave it the Voxel style prompt, it just completely just was not able to put anything solid together, which was unfortunate, but I did want to try it because this was just so well done. Then of course we had our unique browser OS with the loading screen, and it did have a right click and everything like that. This was very, very well done, and I do find the cow thing in the terminal was just really weird. I don't even remember what it was, but you very likely remember if you saw it, so I wanted to mention that. This was a nice result though. The Python first-person shooter was interesting because it wasn't perfect, and I did not know that it put sound in this, and I didn't know I had the speaker on. It wasn't perfect, but it was actually pretty cool. The frame rate would drop when there were too many of these humanoid-looking enemies, and we could still get an error as we just saw there, but I wanted to test it across more than just basically web generation language, and it did sufficiently in both Python and C++, which was cool to see. Overall, though, the models all kind of have a sort of feel or a vibe of when you speak to them, and I found this model was pretty funny, so I'm very happy about that, and really that is going to conclude our first look and test of MiMo V2 Pro. This is definitely a good model, I will say. Some of its capabilities do seem to actually sort of stack up to these benchmarks, which I'm happy to report, as well as I can see why this is currently so popular on OpenRouter for coding, because the price is not horrible, especially when you consider some of the capabilities we saw. Really, that ship game has just won me over, and the drum kit simulation with the autoplay capability was awesome. That's something I'm actually going to keep in that prompt because of how much I liked it, and of course, who could forget the GeoCities website that we also tested, which was just looked at only through the artifact window in the chat. So with that, that is going to conclude our first look and test of the newly released Xiaomi MiMo V2 Pro. This is definitely a worthwhile model, and I'm going to be keeping a very, very close eye on whether or not this does ultimately become open source, as I know a lot of folks would really like that, myself included. So that's going to conclude today's video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or on the Discord, and thanks for watching.